morning, sir.
Good morning. Wait. Good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning,
Morning.
sir.
Good
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, I'm back to you people again to disturb you for another 3 hours. So, all of you have already heard of my lecture on research and its documentation. Today, I will be engaging you with 2 more sessions of each, roughly about 75 minutes. Where in the first lecture, I wish to speak on choice-based education system that the UGC has been insisting for the last roughly about a decade, 10 years. And as far as our new education policy is concerned, the committee which has framed the regulations for new education policy has also given a greater importance to this choice-based credit pattern for learning. So my interest is just to explain you the spirit of CBCS pattern of education at higher learnings in a general mode, so that it suits all universities across India, irrespective of a specific regulation being formed at the time of implementing in your respective universities. The interest now is just to let you know what exactly this choice-based credit pattern for learning, why the UGC has taken it up as very important aspects of higher learning, what are the merits of that CBCS, and what are the responsibilities of both students and teachers in imparting quality education to the pupils, and to what extent a teacher can enjoy the freedom of offering courses and evaluating students, and to what extent the students do have some flexibility in choosing their own courses of interest, so that they can consider themselves to be the architect of their own life. Earlier, when we were the students, perhaps gone are the days that, but still we have to recollect. Unless we recollect the history, we cannot build up the next generation, right? So when we were students, perhaps we used to attend through marathon lectures by eminent teachers, good scholars, and most of the courses were considered to be mandatory, that everyone has to pass through it, whether you really like them or not, right? And there were rigid number of combinations of courses to be chosen the moment you step into the first year Bachelor of Education. But today we are now talking about an environment where students are given more prominence. The education is expected to be a kind of student-centric. Receivers are so important than the deliverers. So if I quote with my own example that, if I go for buying a kind of cloth for me, a shirt for me, or even to buy a slipper, a kind of a slipper for me, I have great choices, right? Unless I am satisfied, unless I am interested in it, unless I find it is useful, though I'm just using it for only 1 or 2 years, and after 1 or 2 years I just throw it out, but still I have many choice. If not one shop, I go to another shop, buy any slipper of my interest, any shirt of my interest, even just to use 2 years. But on the other hand, when students go in search of good education institution like universities, but in that university, students are forced to choose certain well-defined combinations of courses. They don't have any choice. Look, this students are getting into education to mold their complete life, to plan their complete life for hundreds of years. Here we have a choice for 2 years, material like shirt and slippers, but we don't have a choice for students to choose courses of their interest while molding their life for next 100 years. So then it's good to have such a kind of environment where students are allowed to choose their own subjects of interest so that they become masters over it. If somebody wants to have a deeper knowledge, then there must be a good enough scope for him to continue digging out more knowledge and finer levels of details so that he become not only masters, but doctors. If somebody wants to have a superficial knowledge across several disciplines, then why don't we allow him to take so many courses? But in order to award a particular degree for both of them, can we fix up some number of credits so that as and when a student earns so many required number of credits, he becomes eligible, right? Then to say he's a science graduate, or to say he's an arts graduate, or to say he is a commerce graduate, there is some fundamental, knowledge which is essential for scientists, some fundamental knowledge which is essential for commerce person, right? Let's make such fundamental subjects to be mandatory and rest of them to be choice so that students would enjoy learning their courses. So this is the spirit of the CBCS education, a choice-based credit pattern for learning. So as I said, my interest is not to get into any universities simple regulations being followed up today, but to talk in general the real spirit of CBCS pattern of education. One or the down the line, one or the other day, we have to move to that level of CBCS pattern of education. And keep in mind, friends, that what I am presenting you as CBCS is a general framework, and whatever you are now executing in your institution, could be a college, could be a deemed university, could be a state university like University of Mysore, whatever the pattern being followed up now, and non-CBCS pattern, that could be an example even for CBCS. I mean, it suits CBCS as an instance. I mean, basically, I am a teacher, but I'm not the only teacher. I am an example for a teacher, right? Myself is guru, but I'm an example. I'm an one example for a teacher. I'm an instance of a teacher, where teacher is a general framework. I suit into that. Similarly, whatever the pattern being followed up in any institution across India, time being, even you call it as non-CBCS, so it suits into CBCS as an one example with restriction. That's all. Okay, if you relax the restrictions and allow the students to enjoy the flexibility in choosing courses and attending classes of any teacher of their interest, then perhaps that becomes a general framework. So, okay, so let's discuss about the merits of the CBCS pattern education, and I'll make a kind of 40 to 45 minutes or 60 minutes presentation, and leaving the rest of 10 to 15 minutes for a discussion to exchange knowledge. So why I'm standing in front of you to make a presentation on the CBCS and what has really made me so dare enough to make presentation on CBCS, if I narrate that a background. Look, in the year 2010, UGC, the University Grants Commission, wanted to initiate a kind of world standards in higher educational institutions like universities and deemed universities and IITs, IIMs, and so on. So wanted to bring in a kind of reforms in learning. And the moment UGC stated that, it is the university's responsibility to move on to a different paradigm of learning, and there must be shift in learning, the University of Mysore has made up its mind to move towards this, being a model university at that time. And it was recognized to be an institution of excellence by UGC during 2010 and 11. And then the Professor Talwar, the Vice Chancellor of University of Mysore, was so particular in adopting this CBCS pattern of education, if not for undergraduate courses, at least for masters. And earlier to that, 2010, when the Department of Studies in Computer Science, where I am working as Professor of Computer Science, initiated the master's program in computer science and technology called MTech in computer science and technology. Myself and my mentor, Professor Nagbhushan, who is now the director of IIIT Allahabad, instituted MTech in computer science under the CBCS in 2000 itself. I mean, in 1999 to 2000 academic year, our department happens to be the very first department in the campus of Manasa Gangotri of University of Mysore to launch the CBCS pattern of education on full-fledged, complete CBCS pattern of education, where teachers are given complete 100% freedom, right? And we still run the department without having board of examiners. We don't have board of examiners for MTech in computer science, and MSc in computer science. So ours happened to be the very first department, and we started with the permission of Vice Chancellor, then Professor S.N. Negde, encouraged us to start with that, and ours was the only department. And we ran it for about 10 years, and by the time the University of Mysore wanted the same culture to be extended for other departments in the campus. Then Professor Talwar, during that year, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Mysore, called upon Professor Nagbhushan and myself, you please just guide every others and then see that you initiate the CBCS pattern of education and deliver whatever you experience you gained for the last 10 years and see that you take over that. And having worked on as a member of the team responsible for initiating such a CBCS pattern of education in the University of Mysore, I just thought of sharing my experience and views on this, CBCS pattern of education for all you, the budding, teachers and responsible to take over this next continue several more years. The goal is to have a kind of excellence in academy and research. I mean, ultimate job is to somehow improve the quality of education. That doesn't mean that earlier no university used to give a quality education. Please don't take it in that way. Okay, even Indians were known for great education, good education, quality education. But today, because it is to bring a kind of commonality across the globe, and no Indian student should suffer when he migrates from India out of India, right? When somebody moves from Mysore to United States of America, when somebody moves from Mysore to UK, yes, or Canada or Germany, there shall not be any difficulty for him to transfer the credit of learning. Okay, sometimes it happened, I heard of people telling me that though they have completed masters of 2 years education here, soon after they get into any universities in USA, they were forced to take additional courses, not considering our master's education is equivalent to that. Though he has studied several courses here in Mysore University, he was forced to study similar courses, exactly the same courses also there, just to fulfill the requirement. So if we can bring the commonality across, across all universities in globe, perhaps we can see that our students can easily migrate by transforming all the credits that they earned in our university to the respective universities across globe, right? So that is the spirit of this CBCS education on the other hand. The one thing which I really loved, appreciated a lot in this CBCS of education is integrating theory with practice. Integrating theory with practice means generally, probably you are teaching in your institution that there is one theory course where students will be evaluated for 100 marks, and there could be another paper which you call it as a subject, you may call it as, but in CBCS pattern of linguistic call it as a course. They call it as a course is nothing but a subject or a paper which you generally call it. There is another separate course called practical course. So this practical course again is conducted for 100 marks. The student is expected to pass through both the courses to complete a first semester, for example. Then attendance will be combined attendance, not individual attendance. So this is about 100%. This is about 100%. The minimum requirement is 75. And if some students happens to be regular for practical classes and not that regular for theory classes, if he can maintain about 60% attendance, perhaps we will allow him to appear for both the papers. So he will appear for practical and as well as for theory, but he will go fail in theory, but he become successful in practical. Is that really viable, right? Is it really acceptable? He has not studied anything theory, but he just has practiced it and become successful. Or on the other hand, he doesn't have any practice, but he just sit and read and pass through the theory classes, right? And most of the physicists, physics students, they have, learn a lot about pendulum, but they utterly go fail, when they were requested to adjust the pendulum in their respective houses, especially in the clock, in the bigger clock we have pendulum, and we wanted them to adjust the pendulum, so that it goes with the time axis. Then they go utterly fail, but they studied well in physics, especially the theory of it. Unfortunate that they don't have a skill. Can we think of also integrating the skill of practicing or implementing the things which we study in theory courses? Then there shall not be anything like there is a separate practical course and a theory course. Can we think of integrating them together into a single course? Right, whatever you study in the theory classes is supposed to be well practiced in the laboratory, and together I evaluate the student for its success. So this is what I really like very much. Okay, let it be a science, let it be a history. Even history course is supposed to have a practical. Economics is supposed to have a practical, right? So if you can integrate wherever possible, the theory all along with the practical, perhaps we can see that the students will not simply walk out of the institution understanding the things, but also experiencing the things. And I mean, ultimately, this choice-based credit system allows us to integrate theory with the practice, so that students will never just end up being knowledgeable, but they also try to end up being experienced personality. So basically, as I said, it is a student-centric education because there is a big choice for the students. Look at, if I just, most of the times I recollect that, the difficulties which I have really undergone through when soon after completion of my 10+2 education. So if I just bring in some background for this small story, that actually I was fascinated towards mathematics, being a son of a teacher of mathematics. I wanted to do my master's in mathematics. So I just got admitted to 10+2 education in science branch. I have taken physics, chemistry, mathematics, and biology. And then soon after completion of 10+2, I did not go to engineering discipline, but because I wanted to earn my master's in mathematics, a basic science I really loved a lot. And when I approached one of the popular institution, college in Mysore city, to take up my BSc education, then that the college has displayed these are the possible combinations that you are supposed to take. One is physics, mathematics, chemistry. The other one is physics, mathematics, electronics, right? Another one is physics, mathematics, computer science, chemistry, botany, zoology, and so on. Then I was in search of a combination which would permit me to take up one course called mathematics, three major, BSc course, three major. So one is mathematics, I was interested. And at that time, computer science was coming up discipline. So I wanted to choose computer science, not the chemistry. And instead of physics, I wanted one language, either Kannada, a mother tongue, or an international language called English. I wanted to study one language because I was writing small poems and stories in Kannada and English at the time. I wanted to learn some great English. I wanted to be a student of major Kannada or major English. Look at, my purpose was so well defined that I wanted to be masters in mathematics, and equally I wanted to learn some language like English or Kannada, not as a language but as an optional course. Unfortunately, had I chosen this language, perhaps I would have missed this mathematics, because mathematics was not a part of arts, whereas language was a part of arts degree. And had I gone to this mathematics, right, perhaps I would have lost this, I was supposed to lose this language English, because science graduate was not permitted to take any language as a major course. But however, in the first few semesters, he has to just take up them as only language, classes. I really missed it. So then, because of my fascination towards mathematics, I just taken up my BSc in mathematics, physics, and computer science. I was so unhappy. But look at, in that college, there was a good department of English, very known poets. In fact, let me call them as poets. The English people, the professors of English were known for their poetries. They were known for their contributions. So that college had a wonderful English department, but unfortunately, no science graduate had an opportunity to take up English as an optional course, right? Had there been such a provision, such a freedom for students to choose the courses of his interest, there was English department, Kannada department, botany department, chemistry department, physics department. Let there be 10 departments, and instead of restricting the student to choose this particular three or this particular three, we need to allow the student to choose any three of these departments, right? The institution will never lose anything, but the students will have a better opportunity. That's the benefit of the CBCS, choice-based education system. I mean, whatever you have, amongst them, see that the students will exhibit their freedom, exhibit their a kind of choice, so that they can learn what they want, right? So look at today, though I studied physics in my bachelor's degree, I'm not using too much of physics in my research, in my classes, in my professional career now. But computer science, because I'm a professor of computer science, I use mathematics a lot. Mathematics is still helping me. Computer science is my area now. But physics I studied, but I'm not using physics every day in my profession. But had had the institution permitted me to take up language called English, that I am using every day for drafting my research articles. English is very much essential. I got to maintain linguistic quality in my delivery, in my research papers, etc. So look at that institution permitted me to take English as one of the optionals, all along with mathematics and computer science. Perhaps I would have become much more effective in delivering my goods to the students. Look at, that's the benefit. I really missed it. I don't want my children, my students, to miss that option, so that one day they also tell that these were the difficulties we faced. So can we make the environment so flexible? So I have 5 departments. Let the student choose any 3 of these 5. If your institution has only 4 departments, let the student choose any 3 out of 4. If your institution has 10 departments, let the student choose any 3, right? English, physics, Kannada, mathematics, electronics. Why not? Economics. So in an institution, probably most of your colleges have got both arts, commerce, together, or commerce and science, arts, all 3 together, right? In that case, why don't you allow students to choose economics, mathematics, and English? That's a wonderful combination, right? But you have English department, you have economics department, you have mathematics department. But if somebody takes up a mathematics, you are blocking him not to take up economics as other 2 major, courses. So that is where I'm talking about. Please think in that aspect, so that environment is so flexible that students can choose their own. But only thing that we are going to put in additional effort to adjust the timetable. Or you see that the timetable is made announced well in advance before the students enroll for the courses, and let him look at the timetable, and accordingly let him plan which are the courses that he can go with in the current semester, right? That's what I call it as student-centric education. So in the student-centric education, students are given more importance. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Something went wrong here. Oh my God. System got struck. Okay. Is it visible now?
No,
Sir,
sir.
screen is not visible, sir.
Not yet.
Screen is visible now?
Not
No,
yet.
sir.
No, it's not yet, sir.
Okay. How about now?
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible. Yes.
It's fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, so the second one is a continuity in learning. Continuity in learning means generally recollect your, graduation. Perhaps I believe that if you are as senior as me, as far as your age is concerned, perhaps you are in annual education, right? Annual scheme. I mean, we used to appear for examination only in the month of April, and we used to spend longer duration from June to March without reading, without learning, but we used to concentrate reading and learning only in the last 2 months, right? There was nothing like a continuity in learning. And the moment annual scheme has been split into semesters, to some extent, continuity is imposed, and students will appear at least twice, for the examination. And with that fear of examination, the students are forced to read, right? So in between and so on. So if we can see that continuity learning is also imposed, not only semester wise, but fortnight once. If you can conduct some, test and small examinations, and if you can give them some assignments and evaluate them, perhaps you can see that they are in continuous, they are in learning throughout. So whenever there is a continuity learning, obviously students would enjoy learning, right? But no student is voluntarily interested in learning in a continuous mode. But if the regulation can impose that, environment, perhaps the students will enjoy learning. That's what is called continuity. When you are asking students to submit assignment, and when you're expecting students to appear for examinations every 15 days one, then there must be certain weightage for that, right? And if you can give more weightage for continuity in learning and less weightage for semester end examination, perhaps the students can think of giving away the fairness of examination. I mean, so there is a continuity in learning that can be maintained the moment you move on to choice-based education system. And because you impose on continuity in learning, obviously students will have kind of exposure to the practicality. So he will have some hands-on experience. And look at, this is another interesting thing, that this teacher, when given the responsibility of accountability of student attendance, and also the accountability of student attending through lectures and attending through the assignments and appearing for the examination, the test 1, test 2, etc., then you can indirectly insist upon precision, instead of recallability of a learner while attending the questions. So generally, let me quote an example to make it very easy to understand. There is a question for 10 marks. The question is, list out 10 advantages of on some topic X. Let's assume that. What are the 10 advantages of topic X or applications on X? Then we expect 10 points. In the classroom, I delivered 10 important advantages, and I explained all 10 examples, applications of that X. And when I had asked the learner to attend this question for 10 marks, what is my expectation? My expectation is that the students will write all 10 points which I have narrated, which I have delivered in my lecture on. Let's imagine that there is a student A, named A, who attended that question, but unfortunately could not list out all 10 points which I delivered, which were expected. Only 7 were written correctly, right? He has attended that question, but 7 points were written. Then when I evaluate his answer script, I just give a score of 7 out of 10, right? And when I evaluate the answer script of a second student, let's say B, the student named B, he also attended the same question. He listed out 10 points. Sorry, 7 points out of expected 10 points, but he also has given additionally 3 more points which are irrelevant to the question. So totally he has put in 10 points, but out of 10 points, 7 are correct and the remaining 3 are not correct. Then in a conventional mode of education, in a conventional way of evaluating the answer script, so generally we also give 7 out of 10 for that answer, right? But my question is whether you consider A is better or B is better or equally good. I'm sure A is better because A has written 7 and all 7 are correct and none of them is incorrect. Whereas in case of a B, though he has written 7 correct answers, but because he has written 3 more, he doesn't know those 3 are not the answers for it, right? Suppose if I ask you a question, what is this? Instead of telling that it is a watch, if you say that it is a pen, then I understand that you don't know 2 things. One is about the watch. If you are aware of watch, what is watch, perhaps you should have labeled it properly. And because you labeled it as pen, and you are not also aware of what is pen. If you are aware of pen, you should not have answered that it is a pen, right? Suppose after my lecture, if somebody asks you a question, who was the lecturer, who delivered the goods for the last 3 hours in the afternoon, if somebody asks you that question, if you say that it is Professor Hemant Kumar, the Vice Chancellor of University of Mysore, if you say, then I understand that you don't know two persons. One is myself, Dr. Guru. Because you don't know me, you labeled me differently. And you are also not aware of who is Professor Hemant Kumar. That's why you have put in his name here, right? Look at your wrong answer indicate that you don't know two things, whereas your correct answer indicate that you know exactly what was expected. Look at, in the case of person A has written 7 and he did not attempt, writing any more point, and all 7 were correct. I mean, it was so clear for him that these are the 7 points, but unfortunately, I don't know 3 more. But whereas in the case of a B, though he has written 7 points correctly, but he has added up 3 more, then he got confused with the 3 more. So there was no clarity in learning as far as B is concerned, but A was so good A was with such a clarity that these 7 were correct, right? Look at that is what is called as a precision. In most of our universities, especially in the student community, I'm sure that you would appreciate with me, most of the students though learn, but they don't learn with a clarity, right? That improving clarity in learning is more important, and that is possible in the case of this choice-based credit system of education, because you will be monitoring the learning process of a learner in a continuous mode. So because you are monitoring every day from morning to evening throughout a semester, what does he learn, how does he learn, and so on, obviously we can see that indirectly you can inculcate a kind of a precision ability for a learner while attending your questions. So current conventional education system, while evaluating the answer script, we concentrate more on recall ability, I mean memorization ability of a student. The more he omits, the probability that he will cover up what I wanted is more. Obviously he will have a more score. So integration of precision with the recall ability of a learner is more important. That's possible in the case of choice-based education system. And look at, this is very important component of the CBCS. But most of the universities, including University of Mysore, has not gone up to that level of open system of education. But in my department of computer science, we follow this open system of education. What is this open system of education? Before explaining that, let me recollect the way in which we do in our conventional education system. After examination, you will go to the center, what is called center evaluation. That centralized evaluation, hall, you all will go there and evaluate the answer script and hand over to the respective, non-teaching fraternity, and they just tabulate the results and then announce it. So once the results are announced, students is unaware of why the student has been placed with a grade of 7 instead of grade with 8. The student expected 82 marks out of 100, but student was placed with only 68 of 100. Then student cannot understand why I've been given 68. What was wrong? Nothing, because we say that it's confidential. What is there to say that it is confidential, right? Student has answered. Let him know where did he go wrong, or where did I go wrong at the time of evaluation, right? We are also human being. We are also human being. Teacher is basically a human being. He can commit a mistake at the time of evaluating the answer script. Your mistake will penalize him, right? Then there is a scope for a student to apply for re-evaluation, and when recounting first and then re-evaluation. If re-evaluation is also not satisfactory, the student can go for xeroxing, right? So for that he has to pay the penalty, right? He has to pay the fee, additional fee of 5,000 rupees. We charge students for up to 5,000 rupees to give him the copies of his own answer script. Look at own answer script. The answer script is the answers was written by him, and the ink that he has used is also him. Everything is his property, but we are holding it. We are the controller of it. And in order to give a copy of it, we are charging him additionally 5,000 rupees. Is it really fair to do that? Why can't we think of allowing students to look at his answer script without any penalty? Or the moment you evaluate the answer script, see, the students will come and collect the answer script. That's what we have been following in my department, right? I conduct the examination. There is nothing like BOE. I don't believe in the Board of Examiners to look at this standard of my questions, because I am the parent of my students. I taught them. Why I must have a freedom to set the questions of my interest. I can quote that so-and-so example that I discussed in the classroom. With respect to that example, answer the following. You need not have to give a paragraph explaining that. Had a student attend my lecture, he should be able to write the answers for that, right? So look at, there is nothing like a BOE. I just set up a question paper. I can just distribute the question paper on spot and then collect the answer script. If the examination happens to be in the morning, then I sit in the afternoon, I evaluate all the answer script, and by the evening, the moment I complete answer script, I expect the students to come back to my office and collect their respective answer script so that they can show that answer script to any experts outside my campus. That is what is called open system of education. And student A can know about the answers of student B can know the answers of student A, etc., etc. If A and B have written exactly the same answers, and at the time of evaluating, because I am also a human being, in case if I have committed certain mistakes, like I had given him 7 out of 10, but I had given 6 out of 10, then they both of them can come back showing that, look, sir, for him the same answer he had given 7, for me you have given 6, so that either I can change that 7 to 6 or I can change the 6 to 7, right? Look at, and sometimes it happens that, while evaluating the answer script, while turning over the paper, I must have turned over 2 pages. The moment I turned over 2 pages, those 2 pages were, were not been evaluated. Those 2 were not evaluated, and unfortunately the student must have written the good answers in only those 2 pages, right? Then students can look at those pages and come back telling me that, professor, see that these 2 pages have not been evaluated. Can you please get me these evaluated? Then I just evaluate, accept my mistakes. Look at, that is what is called open system of education. There is nothing like hidden agenda. There is no confidentiality. Everything is transparent for student, and that transparency can be maintained. The transparency can be maintained in this choice-based credit system of education. So, because you are taking care of students as if you are the parents from morning to evening, all days of a semester, and by the end of a semester, students must have been evaluated for more weightage, like 60% of evaluation is already over. Then student has got some improved confidence, and because of that improved confidence, he can think of giving away the fear of examination. Need not have to scare off examination, right? And number 2, sometimes in conventional education system, I have noticed and I have experienced this, that on the day of examination, the examination time is scheduled to be at 10 o'clock, and students started coming from home. All on the way, the student met with an accident, and because of that accident, he could not reach the examination hall, and examination started at 10 o'clock and over by 1 o'clock, 3 hours of examination. And because student met with an accident at 9:30 in the morning, he missed the examination. Just because he missed the examination, though he was a wonderful student, though he was a extremely talented student during the last 1 semester and expected to be the topper of the batch, just because he met with an accident and could not appear for the 3 hours of examination on the day of examination, he missed that bus, he has to reappear for the entire semester. Is it really good? No. Had I been given such a freedom of evaluating that student by the end of a semester in a continuous mode from the day number 1 till the end of the semester, perhaps I would have observed him. Already I would have ranked him, I would have placed him in a top score. At least 60% of the weightage, 60% of the evaluation is over by the end of the semester. Then out of 60, he must have got 60, and only the examination part is 40 marks. And for the 40, I just put 0, and out of 100, he has got 60 now, right? Look, still, though he met with an accident and could not turn up to the examination, he is placed with the first class at least. That is what is the benefit of the CBCS education, especially for student community. So, obviously, it improves Guru-Shishya relationship. Guru-Shishya relationship in the sense that, if I ask you a simple question, in your life, who is your best teacher? I'm sure either you name a teacher who taught you in the primary education, or the teacher who taught you in the higher education, secondary education, high school education. Right? Why? Because the teacher used to be all along with us, all along with Shishyas in primary education. Right? So that is what. So why can't we think of improving our relationship with the student so that we talk to the student as if they are children? I mean, the CBC of education will put us into an environment where I have a greater degree of freedom and affinity with the students so that I exchange my ideas and learning ability, and students become almost like my own children, right? The way in which I interact my kids at home, in the similar way, I can interact with such students in the colleges also. So obviously the CBCS education, which I noticed, would help us in improving the Guru Shishya relationship. So is this a new practice? You may have a simple question that, sir, what you have been explaining, is it a new practice? Is it something that we are bringing into? No, obviously not. It's not at all a new practice. The reason is that, it was existed in Gurukula system. Probably you are all well aware of, our mythology called Mahabharata and what is called Ramayana, right? In Mahabharata, had Drona insisted. Dronacharya happened to be the teacher of both Pandavas and Kauravas, had Drona insisted Duryodhana to be a great successful in Bilvidya, right? Arrow and bow education, like what Partha did. Partha was so excellent in Bilvidya, but Duryodhana was good at Gada Vidya. Bhima was good at Gada Vidya, right? But was Drona, had Drona insisted Bhima to pass through that, Bilvidya also, perhaps Bhima would have gone utterly failed. He would not have completed the course at all. But today we are insisting students to pass through all the subjects specified in a particular semester, whether he likes it or not. Do you really think that all such courses are essential component for somebody to become, mathematician? Of course, there are certain courses are to be very, very particular, very fundamental for mathematics. To say I'm a mathematician, I must have knowledge on number theory, right? I must have knowledge on calculus. I must have knowledge on, integration. Look at whatever the courses you think that which are the minimum requirement for somebody to be called as mathematicians, for somebody to be called as physicists, you make them only, compulsory courses, and rest of them could be optional, rest of them could be elective, rest of them could be soft course, right? So that is what is. Look at this type of flexibility in choosing. I mean, the teacher used to examine, yes, especially in Mahabharata, Drona used to examine and trained, Arjuna only for that and Bhima for only this, a specific branch of education. That was decided by the teacher, not by the student. And all courses were not mandatory for everybody, right? Look at, can we make such an environment again? I mean, India was known for such a choice-based education earlier, and in between, because of the Britishers, ruled our Indian country, so we really missed it and adopted the British style of education. Look at Gurukula system was known for credit-based education, and it is being practiced well in Western universities and especially in IITs, IAC, and reputed institutions in India. Look at, after 10+2 education, I want my son or a daughter to get into this IITs, IAC. And for masters, at least, I want my kids to go out of India. Most of us, right? Most of us, you are also parents for your children. I am sure that you also plan your student to be the student of, your kids to be the students of IITs and IAC. Why? It is the culture of learning, right, which matters. Culture of learning is very important. That culture or the environment where students enjoy learning is very high in case of IITs and IASC, but not in our universities and colleges. Why? The reason is we still have to adopt CBCS, but the CBCS has been well practiced in these IITs and IASC for the long years. So it's not new, it is existing. Only thing we have to re-adopt. We missed it in between. We have to bring in back. So then it's a time to understand what is this credit all about. So credit is something which we expect the students to put in some amount of effort to pass through a particular course. Look at, by the end of a month, something is credited into my account as a salary. You're also basically teachers. By the end of a month, your salary is credited. And for somebody, the salary is 2 lakh. For some other person, the salary is 1 lakh. For non-teaching salary is something like 50,000. Why? The reason is it all depends on the effort that you put in for a month. If somebody attends only 15 hours, 15 days of lecture, and other 15 you go on leave, then only 50% of the salary will be credited into account. I mean, what is credit? The credit is the amount that will be put into your account depending on your effort that you spent on for the last 1 month. Similarly, here If student takes up a course and attend through marathon lectures, attend through several sequence of practical classes, and by the end of a semester, he becomes successful in that course, and based on the effort expected by the student to become successful in that course, can we decide or can we associate a course with a quantum, right? A kind of number, and that number is what is called a credit. Okay, for example, if a student takes up a course where he is expected to attend 1 hour of lecture per week for a semester of for a period of 1 semester, I mean a semester of 16 weeks. I mean every week on every Monday 9 to 10, 9 to 10 every Monday, 16 weeks he attends my lecture, and I deliver 1 hour of lecture every week, right? I just have defined one course. I just have thought of offering a course where I am meeting with the students only 1 hour a week on Monday 9 to 10. So 16 hours totally. And then in addition to that 1 hour of broadcasting lecture, I also take the students to the laboratory and I conduct 2 hours of practical on the same course. Every week, the students will attend through 2 hours of practical. And in addition to that, whatever he finds a difficult, I notice it, in my lecture hall. I understand that the students will really feel some difficulty in understanding my, delivery. And I also notice that in the practical classes, the students fails to understand exactly what I wanted him to learn. Then what do? I take up another 2 hours of lecture, but not a broadcasting lecture, but sitting with them and working along with them. I call it as a tutorial. Look at, basically students will spend 5 hours with me. Every student is spending 5 hours with me a week. 1 hour he is sitting in my lecture where I am broadcasting to all the students, and 2 hours he will be with me in a practical hall laboratory, and 2 hours he will be with me in a tutorial where I will not be continuously talking, but I will be simply monitoring their practicing, solving the problems and learning with some good examples, right? So totally the students will spend 5 hours with me a week, but out of 5 hours, 1 hour of lecture, 2 hours of tutorial, and 2 hours of practical. This 2 hours of practical is equal to 1 hour of theory, and 2 hours of tutorial is also equated to 1 hour of lecture. So totally 1 component of lecture and 1 component of tutorial of 2 hours duration, and 1 component of practical of two hours duration. Totally 3 components each, and because of that, the course, in case if the student becomes successful by the end of a semester over this course, then I consider that he could earn 3 credits. I mean, whoever passes my course, whoever becomes successful in attending all these throughout a semester and appearing for all the examinations which I conduct, test 1, test 2, etc., and appearing for the final semester examination, totally evaluate him for 100 marks, and whoever becomes so good in taking minimum required like 40% or 50%, which the university has fixed up, then I say that the student is successful. He has cleared that course. The moment he has become successful in that course, then he will be given 3 credits, right? That 3 credits, but depending on the percentage that he has got, some student has got 40 out of 100, he is successful, passed. And the second, another student has got 60 out of 100, third student has got 73 out of 100, and one more must have got 93 out of 100. Obviously, the one who has got 93 out of 100 appears to be more talented than the others, right? Then obviously I will put him with a high grade, and I put him this person who has got only 40 with a low grade. Then associated with that credit, a grade point will also come along, right? Look at, anyway, forget about that grade point. I will talk about it a little later. Now, every course has got well-defined pattern. One is lecture component, another one is tutorial session, yet another is practical component. So, generally, 2 hours of practical is equated to 1 hour of lecture, and 2 hours of tutorial is equated to 1 hour of lecture. And every 1 hour of lecture component is considered to be 1 credit. So if a student takes up 1 hour of lecture and 1 session of tutorial, but no practical, then he will get 2 credits after completing that course, right? So for example, see, every course has got this LTP. L refers to lecture, T refers to tutorial, P refers to practical. And if there is a course which is of this pattern, look at, lecture component is 2 hours per week. How much does it amount? it amounts to 2 credits because of 2 hours of lecture. And tutorial is about 2 hours. So 2 hours is equal to 1 hour of lecture, hence 1 credit. And 2 hours of practical amounts to 1 credit. Totally, it is 2 plus 1 plus 1. It is a 4 credit course. Then if you offer a course where you teach students 2 hours a week and you conduct 2 hours tutorial and you conduct 2 hours practical, then you are offering a course with a pattern of LTP 4 credit. In case if your paper doesn't have a practical, you can put 0 here. If you don't like to offer any tutorial, you can put a 0 here, right? And sometimes you can design a course where only lecture and a tutorial, only lecture and a practical, only tutorial and a practical, right? So you must have given him enough theory in the last semester, but now he has to acquire some skill over that course, right? So I just taught him quantum physics in the last semester. He has taken all the 3, but in the next subsequent semester, he want to gain some skill in quantum physics. When you want to gain some skill in quantum physics, then you must have enrolled for a course called quantum computing. Then quantum computing, there's nothing like a theory. I just have designed the course content in such a manner that I conduct, because it's a very tough course to learn. It's good to have a tutorial and a practical. Then theory can be 0. Then in that case, if tutorial is 4 hours tutorial and practical is 4 hours, then 4 hours tutorial is amounting to students who really voluntarily take up that course as an interest. Then it is 2 credit. And to student will attend 3 hours of lecture, 3 hours. Of credit associated with any course is called L plus T plus P. So course can be you want to be a computer scientist, so data structure, algorithms, right, discrete mathematics, probably these are called some foundational courses which are essential, component of computer scientist. In such cases we call it as ability courses, I mean core courses called hardcore courses. So other could be a discipline specific core courses. So you are supposed to take courses related to only this. You are not supposed to appear for this, but only these minimum requirement of mathematics. So that's called discipline specific courses. Environmental science core courses that Indian government makes it mandatory now. One should have studied some minimum knowledge on environmental science. So that could be added course. Skill enhancement courses, a discipline specific electives, right? Suppose somebody wants to learn quantum computing. If somebody wants to learn quantum computing, being a student of computer science, but we don't have that facility, that expertise to offer quantum computing in my department. So then I allow my student to go to the physics department where there is a professor of quantum physics who will offer the course on quantum computation. He can go there and enroll as a physics student, come back, so that he can transfer the credit earned in physics department to my department, right? Because he has studied foundational courses of computer science, then he will become a master's in computer science. So that's what is called elective courses. Language core courses, this is what I was talking about, right? Just because somebody chosen BSc course, please don't discourage him not to take up any language course. He can take it as one of the options by giving away chemistry, by giving away physics, by giving away botany, right? Which he is not interested in. So you can take up language also, that and undergraduate. So generic elective, open elective. I have been practicing swimming till my 10+2 education. or till my graduation. So just because I just joined masters in computer science and I'm always engaged by computer science professors to submit assignments and to appear for examination and so on and so on, I got to forget my swimming. Why can't I think of go to the sports department and enroll myself for a 4-credit course in sports where swimming is a course content, so that every Monday evening I go to the swimming pool and swim for 1 hour and earn the credit, and that credit can be transferred to my masters of computer science. That is what is called generic elective. So project work could be called as either an optional or as a mandatory. If you make it a mandatory, then you call it as a hard course. If you make it as an optional, then you call it as a soft course, right? So value-added courses. So you can think of several value-added courses, right? As a 1-credit course, 2-credit course, and so on. And see that all put together is a list of courses, and students has to enroll for these courses depending on their interest in every semester and over a period specified, and one is expected to pass through so many courses accounting to or accumulating to a required number of credits. What is that required? So in case of masters, we say it is 76 minimum, and in case of UG, you say it's 136 is the minimum. I mean, over a period of 3 years or over a period of 4 years or over a period of 2 years in case of masters, because he takes up several courses in a semester and in the second semester and so on. After successful completion of each courses, he will get 4 credits, 5 credits, etc. Gets added up into the account, and every semester end, the credits gets accumulated. And by the time he has accumulated 76, totally, he becomes eligible to get his masters. Or in case of undergraduate, over a period of 3 years, one has to acquire 136 credits, something like that. So maximum could be 90, 140. I mean, you can range while designing course content in your university. You can vary the minimum to maximum. Yeah, this 76 to 90. I mean, 80 is the minimum required number of credits to become MSc in physics, or to get MSc in mathematics. One has to acquire 84 credits, right? You can fix up something in between this. So generally, for masters is 4 semester. And double the duration, RM says that 8 semester. I mean, 2 years masters can be completed in 4 years. Similarly, double the duration, 3 years bachelors can be completed in 6 years, 12 semesters. So minimum requirement on each type of course could be, I mean, how many hardcore, how many soft core, how many generic elective, that you can specify, and students has to obey that. Evaluation in a complete 100% CBCS education, the teacher who offers a course is whole and soul and wholly responsible for evaluation. There is nothing like BOE. But time being, to begin with, you can have a BOE and you can formulate some regulations and spread it across and see that everybody follows it up, and year by year try to relax it. But in a complete CBCS pattern of education, a teacher who offers a course is only responsible. I offer a course, I am responsible in evaluating student in a continuous manner, and also decide the method of evaluating and the style of giving assignments and evaluating, etc. And based on continuous assessment, and structure of evaluation may vary from a teacher to a teacher, but it should be known to the students well in advance. So generally, when I go to students on the first day for about 2 hours, I narrate, I explain the way in which I evaluate the student this semester and what is my expectation. I make it very clear to the student. I record it and document it, and the document will be shared across all the students, and I put it on the notice board also. I stick on to that for this semester. I change every semester based on the course I teach, right? So that's what you can also think of. I am the whole and soul. I am the parent of my kids, and nobody is really required to evaluate my students, because I have been teaching them. I know better than anybody else, while evaluating students. That's the spirit of CBCS. So portions covered in a paper, for example, for component 1, component 2, component 3, you can say that first part of the semester, second part of the semester, you cover the portion 50% and 50%. So weightage can be 25 and a 25. I mean, by the end of the semester, at least students must have been evaluated for 50% already. But in my department, the students will be evaluated by the end of the semester, before semester end examination. On the last day of semester, students have been evaluated for 60%. The students are aware of how much they scored out of 60 marks, and examination is only 40 marks. But here you can think of going with a 50-50 weightage for continuous assessment, 50% weightage, and for the remaining semester end examination, 50% weightage. It's good if you can have 30 here and a 30 here and a 40 here, so that the students can give away the fairness of examination. Assignments could be, you plan, because you are the experts of your subject. You plan what type of assignment should be given, but see that the assignments are very creative. Ultimately, look, if you are teaching a language like English, Shakespeare's novel, suppose if you are offering Shakespeare's poems, then by the end of the semester, if the students, in addition to understanding the internal beauty of Shakespeare's poem, he being a graduate of English language, English literature, should be able to write at least 2 lines of such English poems, right? That's what is called creative. So if somebody takes up Kannada as an optional course, and if he attends through the marathon lectures on, Kuvempu's articles, Kuvempu's, poems, right? By the end of the semester, he must be able to write at least 4 lines of a poem of his interest, right? That is what is called creative exploration. So designing and conducting practical experiments in case of practical classes, all in all, problem solving ability should be improved. Solving desk work exercise problems and so on. I mean, he must be creative. He must have some added dimension to his performance by the end of the semester, and see that you set up the assignments in such a manner that it will make him very, very dynamic. So look, as I said, every course has got a credit value, 4 credit, and every student will have a grade. Out of 100 marks, he has got 62. The moment he has got 62, I place him with a grade, let's say 7. For that course, he got 4 credits with a grade 7. Another student, he has got the same 4 credits with a grade 9 because he has scored 92. Look at now, the first student will have a grade point, which is nothing but 4 into 7, 28. The second student who has got 4 credit with a grade 9, then 36. So one has got 28 as a GP, another one has got 36 as a GP. That's how those students are different in the same course, but of same credit, but the grades are different, and obviously the grade points are different. That grade points is nothing but the product of CV associated with the course and the grade that student is placed with. So that product is called GP. And now in a semester, student must have enrolled for 20 credits, right? Out of 20 credits, he has got 4 credit, 1 GP, another 4 credit, another GP. So totally 5 courses he has taken. 5 into 4 on uniformity, let us say that 20 credits. And out of 20 credits, what is the total GP? The total GP divided by 20 is what is called semester grade point average. It's like taking up the average of marks. You take the average of GP over all the courses of a particular semester. That's called SGPA. And instead of doing it for a particular semester, if you do it for the whole course of 2 years of masters, or entire course, entire program of bachelor's of science or a bachelor of arts of 3 years, then I call it as cumulative grade point average. So this is for the entire program of BSc, entire program of BA, or entire program of MSc, like that, CGPA. And based on the value of CGPA, we can say student is first class, second class, third class, just pass, right? And so on, distinction and so on. So this is how we can grade the student and classify the student based on this GP, average GP in a semester, average GP for the entire program, and so on and so forth. So because here this teacher is responsible for complete accountability, we have some additional responsibility to monitor the learning ability of a student. And students have got so flexibility, and the system is open system of education where there is no confidentiality, nothing. And if anything goes wrong, students have to report to, can book a complaint. In order to see that the students will be comfortable in book a complaint, and in case sometimes teacher finds it very difficult to handle a student, so teacher can also book a complaint against a student and so on. And for that, there must be some grievance cell. The grievance cell should be should consisting of head of the institution as the chairperson, like vice chancellor in university, or principals of your college. At department level also you can have grievance cell, right? Physics department can have a grievance cell. Physics department have one coordinator called CPCS coordinator, where students have to enroll in the beginning of the semester, and this coordinator has a responsibility of telling the teacher that please make the method of evaluation known to the students well in advance, right? And before you start your classes, you have to explain fully the nature of the CBCS and pattern of CBCS to students. You have to put everything on the web page of your institution and so on. And one committee is responsible to take care of all, and that's what is called grievance cell. So you can go for that grievance cell. Must have that in your institution. So look, so it is to bring in kind of change in the culture of learning, and we have to get along with the change. Friends, change is the only thing which is permanent, and nothing is permanent. Every day you change it, big change, right? You see a big change. That's what is called change. Change without improvement or improvement without change, both have no meaning. That's my message to you people. So if you change yourself, there must be certain improvements in your style of living. And if there is some improvement in your style of living, there must be change in you. If you don't change yourself, but there is some improvement, or if you simply change without any improvement, then both have no meaning. So this is my last message to every one of you. So I wish you all take up this CBCS that being insisted by your new educational policy to that extent of complete implementation of CBCS pattern of education. Of course, we cannot all of a sudden think of moving to that complete paradigm of CBCS. However, we can go on making modification, improvement, certain changes every year, and down the line after 5 to 6 years, probably we can see that this complete CBCS gets implemented in every campus of higher education, right? Believe in evolution rather than believing in revolution, especially in this CBCS culture. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much. I'm now ready to take up any points for clarification.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your valuable lectures and very easily explain this CBCS system. And I am one problem faced in our area. That's the CGP and percentage conversion formula. Various university, they follow various formula.
Correct.
So is there any specific formula guideline from
No,
UGC?
that depends on the curriculum design that BOS has to fix it up. And that all depends on the method of converting percentage to the grade, Okay, some people follow 10 scales, some people follow 5 scales, some people follow 20 scale, right? Okay, depending on the scale, you have to fix up the formula. And some people, when they follow 10 scale, they simply multiply the grade point average by 10, right? Okay, so some people, because the evaluation has got some range of while mapping, that range can be subtracted and then ratio can be taken up. But I appreciate of that institution to specifically mention what is the formula to be used to get the percentage back. And that formula is essential only for a smaller period of time till all institutions will adopt this CBCS. Once every institution across India adopt the CBCS, there is then no point, no formula is required to convert the grade point average back to the percentage. Right? That conversion of grade point average back to the percentage is required because some students come from a conventional institution and some people come from this. We have to compare them, right? Okay, so for that, but the moment all institutions across India adopt this CBCS, probably that conversion formula is not at all required. But time being, I appreciate and respect if institutions clearly mention what is that conversion formula, and that can be decided by the Board of Studies. There is nothing like a unique that benchmark formula to be adopted for all universities across India, right?